Light of the Cell Foundation, Dr. Nagesh, Professor of Bapuji Dental College, Davangere, Azimji, Mystic Master and founder of the Life Crafter. So, with this wonderful evening, welcome to Ananda, Song of Bliss. We'll begin Ananda with a Song of Bliss by Kumari Varsha G. Hegde. All of you will agree with me, has a very beautiful voice and she sang so well with a lot of feeling. So let us give her another big hand. Now we come to the launch of Ananda. We request all our guests of honor to light the lamp. I request Srimati Bharti to come and assist us in the lighting of the lamp. Shri Anandji would also, Shri Anandji will come to the dais.
Let us chant Asatoma. Asatoma, Asatoma, Satgamaya, Satgamaya, Tamasoma, Tamasoma, Jyotirgamaya, Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma, Mrityorma, Amritam Gamaya, Amritam Gamaya, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I request the guests of honor to kindly come back to the dais. A very brief narration of how Ananda was begun. The very name Ananda, denoting the sound of bliss that has always resonating in the universe and in our own hearts as well, if we only spare the time and awareness to listen to it. So, the man behind Ananda is also named Anand, Shri N.S. Anand, who came and lit the lamp with the guests of honor. Ananda is his, I will not say brainchild, let me say heart child of Shri N.S. Anand. This hall where all of us are seated here belongs to him, and he wanted to dedicate this hall in order to bring out the happiness inherent in all of us. So Ananda has three objectives, and these three objectives address our body, mind, intellect and soul. So the first objective of Ananda is to nurture health through yoga and alternative therapies, enhance mental, emotional and intellectual well-being through counseling and awareness programs is the second objective of Ananda. The third objective is to activate the happiness inherent in everyone through techniques provided by science and spirituality. So with these techniques, with these objectives, Ananda has been launched today by our wonderful guests of honor. Let us give them a big hand of applause. And to do this, Ananda does not belong only to Shri N.S. Anand. He has made it very clear that it belongs to all of us who have the same objective. So we need support from all of you who are here and from your own circles to make this really very effective in implementing all its objectives. So we will now move on to the inaugural address.
For the inaugural address, we have with us today Sri Narasimha Prabhuji. Sri Prabhuji is a very unique person. He calls himself an ordinary human being. He says being ordinary is to be one with the cosmic energy. All of us who think that we are individuals are extraordinary, whereas enlightened beings who think, not think, who are one with the cosmos are ordinary. Because to be one with the cosmos, to be always bubbling with Ananda, to be spreading Ananda everywhere, is the natural state of all of us, which unfortunately many of us have forgotten. So Sri Narasimha Prabhuji is always established in the state of Ananda. He is also unique in another way, being an enlightened person and guiding devotees all over the world. He is also in one of the top positions in Tech Mahindra, a firm well known in Bangalore, and its co-founder also. So now we request Sri Narasimha Prabhuji to give us his message and his blessings for Ananda to move forward from strength to strength.
My pranams to all the dignitaries, all those who are assembled here on this auspicious occasion, on this joyful occasion. My humble pranams to all Atma Jyotis, light of the self. Let us chant Omkara 3 times together. I am very happy, very delighted to be present on the occasion of inauguration of this hall, Ananda, Song of Bliss. Very appropriate name, very beautiful name. Existence is bliss. Sat Chit Ananda, that's what we say. The existence which consists of manifest, unmanifest, has come out of bliss, exists in bliss, and dissolves back into bliss. The elements of nature, 5 elements of nature, the space, the wind, the fire, water, earth, they exist in bliss. The wind blows out of bliss. The animals, the plants live in bliss. The child is in bliss. A human child is in bliss. The enlightened one is in bliss. But somewhere we miss this bliss. There seems to be a gap in existence where everything is in bliss, but human beings are in misery. So somewhere there's a manufacturing defect or gap is there in this existence. And unfortunately or fortunately, we are part of that manufacturing defect, going through misery and suffering. While everything is bliss, including human child, what is the bliss which is experienced by enlightened versus the bliss of the existence itself? Unconsciousness or unawareness is nature of 5 elements. The plants, animals, their awareness or consciousness level is low. Ignorance is bliss. But that's unconscious. The human child is in a state of bliss. That's why you say innocence is bliss. But the moment we start acquiring knowledge, we become miserable. We start acquiring knowledge of ourselves and knowledge of our world. Science, technology, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, politics, the more we acquire, the more ignorant we become of ourselves. And this is the misery we go through. While human child, the nature is blissful, the enlightened one is always in bliss. The difference is, the enlightened one is aware of his bliss. It is not a bliss of ignorance. It is not a bliss of innocence. It is a bliss of wisdom. So, the life is a journey from unconscious to conscious to self-ignorance to self-awareness. This is the journey. In this part of journey, we are together here where we are trying to explore ourselves. And this exploration is what we call as self-discovery. Very fortunate are the people who are on the path of self-discovery, because they are discovering something which is very precious, which they have already. That is bliss, ananda. Now we don't confuse this bliss with the joy, pleasure. Okay, pleasure is related to sensations. I drink, I have a pleasant smell of a coffee. It's coffee. It's a smell. It's a sensation. Joy is related to mind. Bliss is when it's your own nature, when you realize what you are not. You are not the body, mind or intellect. You are pure awareness, consciousness, whose nature is bliss. This realization established one in a state of bliss, which is your own, in your own right. It's a birthright of every human being. And fortunately, we have a facility here which provides space in this beautiful place of Basavangudi, central place. Good facility here, and coordination by Ms. Wani, her husband, and facility provided by Anand. We should be indeed thankful for providing this opportunity and place for us. I remember a story from the Buddha's time. Buddha had attained parinirvana, which means leaving the body and going. At that time, Buddha had a number of followers all over India, thousands of people, and people are feeling sad that Buddha is no longer with them. Unfortunately, at that time, the Buddha's teachings were not written down. Then Buddha had about 10,000 disciples who were enlightened ones. That was a great upsurge in Indian history where many people followed Buddha and attained peace, enlightenment. And there was one hall which was constructed for these enlightened people. That hall was, the name of the hall was the Hall of the Enlightened, where only enlightened people are allowed entry into the place and unenlightened people don't have entry place. So the 10,000 disciples of Buddha gathered there who were enlightened, and unenlightened people were waiting near the door. So they had a discussion. So Buddha is no longer there. How do we preserve his teaching? And they had a problem. Everybody is saying, I met Buddha 10 years back. After meeting Buddha, after 1 year I got enlightened. After that I didn't know what Buddha taught. Because after enlightenment it doesn't matter. I was just following Buddha. It is a joy to be with him. I was happy to be with him. So another person says, I got enlightened after 3 years. After 3 years, whatever Buddha spoke, I don't know. So the problem is 10,000 disciples of Buddha are there who are enlightened and who don't remember what Buddha's teaching is. Now Buddha's teaching has to be preserved. Then they remember one person. His name is again Ananda, incidentally. Okay, Ananda was there sitting outside the hall, who was not known to be enlightened. Ananda was a cousin of Buddha. So Ananda joined Buddha. Immediately after Buddha's enlightenment, Buddha started touring. Ananda came to Buddha, said, I want to become your disciple and I want to follow you, I want to become your follower. Ananda was cousin. But you have to promise me one thing. The promise is, wherever you go, whatever you do, you have to allow me to be with you. If that is okay, fine. So this person, Ananda, followed Buddha like a shadow for almost 30 to 33 years of teaching. One good thing about Ananda is, he had a photographic memory. Whatever Buddha said, verbatim he remembered. Verbatim, every word, every conversation he remembered. For example, Buddha told Subhuti, life is a suffering, if he says. Ananda remembers that as Subhuti, life is a suffering. Every word which Buddha has spoken for 30 years, Ananda remembered. And he was not enlightened. So he is sitting outside. The enlightened was also sitting inside. Okay. So now the problem is that the teaching of an enlightened master written by an unenlightened person is possibility of corruption is there. And an enlightened person don't remember teaching of Buddha. So this is a dilemma which they faced. And Ananda was crying, and Ananda sat in front of the hall and decided, I want to get enlightened to preserve the teaching of Buddha. Within a couple of days, he got enlightened. He entered into the hall of enlightened one. Then he dictated verbatim whatever teachings of Buddha. Then that became Tripitaka. It's a huge volume of collection, running thousands of pages. Every word by word he remembered. And that hall of enlightenment was actually responsible for preserving the teaching of Buddha and passing it on to the next generation. Even if today, you see after 2,500 years, the teachings of Buddha bring peace and solace to many parts of the world. So, you have inherent bliss in you, inherent Ananda in you. That Ananda has to be nurtured, or it has to come out. So as Vivekananda says, education is nothing but bringing out the perfection which is already in you. So there is a place for education is required. And education requires a facility. And that facility is this Ananda Hall, where very evolved souls, great beings and great people have occasion to interact with each other, to enrich their mind and spirit, practice yoga for body, counseling and other skills for mind, and spiritually nourishing practices, whether it's meditation or any other scientific practices. So this is a great occasion for all of us. I wish this also becomes the hall of enlightenment. Not that we don't allow unenlightened. The people who enter here become enlightened and spread light to many more people. So thank you for providing this opportunity to all of us. I wish a great success. I wish all of you who participate in this moment great benefit. Please participate. With your participation, this will be enriched. Okay. Ultimately, this interaction of noble souls, noble thoughts, which enriches our life. That's what is called satsanga. So there's an occasion for great satsanga. I welcome one and all, and thank you organizers for providing this opportunity. Thank you very much.
So the hall has now been provided with a new purpose. A wonderful name has been given to the Hall of Enlightenment. And anybody who comes into this hall should go out enlightened. That is the sankalpa made by Sri Prabhuji for all of us. So let us offer our pranams to him and give him a big hand. Now we come to our second guest of honor, Dr. Nagesh. Dr. N. Nagesh is not only a professor at Bapuji Dental College, Davangere,